Hello, lovely humans. I'm Dr. Trina Hinkley from the Expanded Self. Happy Wednesday. It's hump day, halfway through the week, or a bit more than half now that we're well into the afternoon, and I've got lots of sun shining there on my face. So I'll just sit back a little bit from the camera so it's not so distracting for you or for me. So talking a little bit today about grit, picking up on the theme from last week, which was about grit, what grit is, and where we might find it in our lives and the benefit that it has. So this week, just talking a little bit about how we can harness it and how we might be able to be a bit grittier, I think, is probably what I would say. I have to remember to keep sitting back so I don't get that sun in my face and it's not distracting for you. So as I mentioned last week, grit seems to be a little bit of a contested issue in the literature, with some people saying that it actually isn't a thing in and of itself and that it might just be a component of something else. Regardless of what you want to call it, if we think about the idea of persevering, which is a major component of grit, and other constructs as well, and then there is value in that. We know that there's value in that. And we know that there's value in things like self-discipline and keeping on, assuming all the circumstances are right. There are times, of course, where we need to stop, but that's not what we're talking about here. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what are some of the ways, some of the things that maybe we can do that can help us persevere when we need to, that can help us perhaps even get more enjoyment out of keeping on doing those things and make them a little bit easier for us to do. Of course, the reason that we do this is that then we get the outcomes that we want in the long run. So what we do seem to see from the evidence is that flow, or being in a flow state, is something that can both contribute to perseverance and also be an outcome of perseverance. So when we talk about flow, it's this idea of having really focused, uninterrupted concentration. So you can put yourself in a situation where you're more likely to experience flow, and that might help develop a bit more grit, or bring a bit more grittiness to whatever you're working on. So make sure that you do things like put your phone away, turn off social media, shut any internet windows that you don't need open, turn off any notifications. I know in many workplaces these days there are communication channels outside of email, so things like Slack and other platforms that I'm not familiar with because I'm not really that techie, but they're all out there and they can ping and pop and zing and boom every 5 seconds, and that's very distracting and doesn't allow you to get into a flow state. So turn all of those things off to give yourself the greatest opportunity. Set some time limits around what you're going to do. Maybe you say, for the next 20 minutes, I'm just going to do this. And what seems to happen when you set a time limit is that you go, oh, it's okay. Your brain knows in 20 minutes it can go and do all those other things. So you're able to focus just for this period of time on whatever it is you're working on. And then honor that 20 minutes. At the end of the 20 minutes, get up, walk away, do something else, come back, and maybe you do another 20 minutes. Whatever your time frame is, somewhere between 20 and 40 minutes seems to work well for most people. For us to feel comfortable in persevering, we need to know that it's safe and acceptable for us to try and fail. So have a look at what's going on around you that may or may not support you if you fail. Try to identify those things that do support you, bring more of those in, and try to identify those things that perhaps might make you feel guilty or ashamed if you fail, and try to push as many of those as possible out of the way and let go of them so that they're not going to be a factor. Put yourself as much as you can in a situation where if you fail, that's okay and that you can pick up again and keep on going. Also think about growth mindset. So this is probably an idea that many of you are familiar with. There's been a lot about it in the media and over the internet for the last, I don't know, 10 years or so. first proposed by Carol Dweck, a professor at Stanford University in the US. It's the idea that we can accomplish things, we can learn things, we can do things that we might not be good at right now, compared to a fixed mindset that says, if we're born with an innate ability to do it, then we'll be able to do it, but we'll never be able to do anything else, which would mean that most of us didn't achieve very much at all, because most of what we do in life, we learn as we go along. So really embracing the idea of a growth mindset is allowing yourself to say, I don't know how to do something now, but I'm going to try a few things and I'm going to learn how to do this thing so that I can get better at it and be better at it in the future. That can really help us become a bit more persevering, a bit more focused on what we're doing, because we come at it from a beginner's mindset, which allows us to be a little more open and curious. Goal setting is a big one as well. I don't need to go on too much about goal setting because I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. It's the idea of saying, well, in 5 years, I want to own this kind of house and I want it to have that many bedrooms and it's going to cost that much. It's being very clear about the outcomes that you want, perhaps somewhere further down the track. Of course, breaking some of those outcomes down, or some of those goals down, into more manageable chunks is really, really useful, because just having one big one often sets us up for failure. And something that goes really well hand in hand with goal setting is habit formation. And this one you may not have heard as much about. It's the idea that it's our habits, the things that we do all the time, that get us outcomes. So what's your habit in the morning for getting up? Do you snooze the alarm 15 times before you get out of bed, or do you leap out of bed ready to embrace the new day? Think about whichever one of those you do. Think about the difference in mindset and the difference in perspective that you take with you from those first moments into the day. Think about habits around healthy behaviors, for instance, healthy diet, healthy exercise, healthy sleep, and the difference that those sorts of things make in your life. Self-efficacy is a big one. Actually, just let me come back to habit formation for a minute. I probably jumped the gun there a little bit. So if you want that house, I'll give you an example. If you want that house in 5 years, one of the habits that's going to be really useful to help you get there is to set up a savings plan. And every week, every fortnight, every month, however often it is that you get paid, you put X percentage of your salary into a savings account and leave it there and you don't touch it. That's one habit that can help you get an outcome. So self-efficacy is our belief in our ability to be able to do something or achieve something, even in the face of challenge. So if I believe that I can go running even when it's raining, then I would be said to have good self-efficacy around running. If I believe that if it's raining, there's no way in the world I could go running because it would just be all too horrible, then I probably have lower self-efficacy around running. So finding ways that you can just a little bit step by step create a little bit more self-efficacy or belief in your own abilities can help you become a little bit more persevering as well, a little bit more focused on actually achieving the outcomes that you want. Thinking about the ways that you can overcome challenges. So if you really want to go running, but the rain is putting you off for whatever reason, think about, what is it really about the rain that bothers you? Is it that you're going to get wet? Okay, so could you wear a rain jacket? Is it that it just feels really miserable to run in the rain? Okay, well, could you run inside? Could you run on a treadmill? Could you run at a different time of day when it's actually not raining? So setting up all of these beliefs around, or all of these strategies around, how can you do what you need to do to support yourself, to grow your self-efficacy, that you can still do what you need to do. That sounded a bit circular now that I've said it. And then the final one is monitoring and evaluating. And this sounds a little bit researchery, and it is really, you could call it an everyday life tracking, tracking what you do, tracking your behaviors to see whether or not you're on track. So you've set your goals, you've started creating your habits, and then you need to keep track of those. And this helps with perseverance as well. So think about perhaps a little calendar on the fridge for the month, and every day, I don't know, you give yourself a star or a tick when you've been for your run. And if you want to go running 3 times a week, then you can count up all the weeks that you've been running 3 times a week, and you can see how on track you are for achieving your goals, and gives you a bit of reinforcement, which helps with perseverance as well. So you can look back and you can go, oh, for the last 4 weeks, I went running 3 times every week. That feels really good. I want to keep going. So it helps you to stick with what your goals are. Your goal for running might be to have a healthy lifestyle, to lose weight, whatever it is that running links into. So I don't think I did a very good job of keeping the sun out of my face. So my apologies for that. I hope it's not too distracting for you. And I'll pop on probably on Friday with a little meditation around something to do with perseverance and grit and being in flow. Have a great couple of days, and I'll chat with you soon. Also, just wanted to flag I've got a couple of upcoming workshops. One is called Light Your Fire, which is really about habit formation and identifying what really is of value to you. And the second one is around boundaries and setting your boundaries, which can help with things like blocking out those things that aren't important to you so you can be more focused. So both of those will help if you want to develop a little bit more perseverance or resilience. Both of those, the content in both of those workshops will be awesome for supporting you in doing that. Have a great day or evening or weekend whenever you're watching this. Info about the events are on my Facebook page and website. I'll pop links in the comments, and chat to you soon. Bye. Thanks for watching.